to Trophy Horse with your hosts, Tricky Nick, Alex, I yield to no one, Sid, and Ender Phoenix.
Welcome, one and all, to the Trophy Horse podcast. This is episode number 640. I am your host tonight, Matt, and all the boys are here, but we wanted to start off the show with a very special dedication. So, if you would, Alex.
Yes, thank you, Matt. This week, the Proven Gamer and Trophy Horse community lost a beloved member of its family, and Tricky Mick, our friend, lost his mother, Patrice Sotomayor. And so we just want to pay our respects to her and dedicate this episode to her, and just hopefully she knows that she will be very missed.
So with that, as I mentioned, Tricky is here. He is manning the Twitch stream. As you might have been around, there was a little trouble there, but we are back. But Tricky, appreciate you being here. I know what it's like when we lose a family member. It's a rough thing, but you're pushing through. You're a strong guy, and with that, welcome to the show tonight.
Thank you, guys, and I want to give a huge shout out to everybody that reached out to me on Facebook and all the other messages that I got. It means a lot to me that it. I often get a lot of crap from you guys, and sometimes I don't necessarily feel the love, but when I put the message out, I put it out on my personal page. I also put it out in the Trophy Horse group, and a lot of you. A lot of people who I haven't heard from in a long time reached out, and they sent me messages saying, sorry, we haven't listened to the show or interacted in a while, but want to send our love and sympathies, and I just want to greatly appreciate that to everybody. I've been struggling over the last couple of days. I mean, obviously, I'm sure you could tell and understand. But today was a little easier because hockey's back today, and the Rangers are playing. So that's it. Sorry.
Well, Tricky, we're definitely showing a love, but I don't show any love to Rangers. But beyond that, Alex, how you doing, buddy?
You show no love to anybody but Texas Rangers, right? Walkers.
Is that a baseball thing?
Well, there are Texas Rangers. I was maybe going for the Chuck Norris Walker.
Yeah, I
Texas
thought he was
Ranger
going for the
reference.
Chuck Norris thing.
I'm sorry. Again, shows you how much you know about baseball.
With a karate kick to the head. No, you knew the name of the team. Again, because the Texas Rangers are the name of the team.
I was guessing.
You just don't know. You need to brush up on your Chuck Norris.
I think Chuck Norris has to brush up on his Chuck Norris. He's been out of the limelight for a while. I don't think I'm muted because all of my ones and twos are going.
Maybe Alex is muted.
All right,
I heard Alex.
Maybe Alex is lost.
My headphones are on the fritz. My headphones are not cooperating.
There he goes.
These PlayStation headsets. PlayStation headsets. Do not buy PlayStation.
It's user error.
Do not. You plug it into a hole, Tricky. What can go wrong?
Sony you made me question my process. So, all right.
Do not spend your money on PlayStation peripherals. They're a waste of money.
Wow. That's the way we're going to start this show?
Well, yeah, I mean, Sony is back to their attitude of the PlayStation 3 launch.
So you hear him there. Yield's here tonight as well. How you doing, Yield?
It's been a good weekend, considering that, like, last week, for being a short week for me, drugged on like I worked 12 days, but it's not bad. It's been kind of a relaxing day. We actually finally got some rain, which we ain't seen in it feels like 2 months. So
we haven't had rain here in a while, so I'm glad somebody's getting it. But other than that, anything else? I know, again, not to be that guy, but anything else this week going on? that we're all thankful for. You know, again, here we're talking about thankful for our community, thankful for each other.
I mean, I'm thankful Nitro bought Helldivers too. That's another.
But he didn't install it.
Yeah, but let's give him some time. But yeah, I mean,
Who
Nitro
buys
has
a game
joined.
and doesn't install it?
I do.
Sometimes it happens.
Oh my gosh.
Look, he's decided to join up and become a hero. So let's not give him too much crap. He will join forces with us one day, and we will wipe out the bugs and automatons with Nitro by our side.
Robato's in the chat saying it's the Poop on PlayStation show.
Well, I mean, we just call it like we see it, man.
Hey, if it's like Star Wars fans, nobody hates PlayStation like PlayStation fans, right?
Right.
I'm reminded of the Simpsons meme where Willie's complaining about Scots who hate Scots, the ruining Scottish.
So I think before we start the show proper, I think we should address the elephant in the room, and that's the poll you put in the chat, Matt.
Okay, so yeah, and this. So for those of you who may not be on Facebook, there's been a discussion recently about the content of the show, and what we did was, I want to bring, credit where credit's due. Gareth, our boy Gaz, brought up a comment about the content of the show and length and content of the news versus what we're playing, things like that. So I decided to, and there was a good discussion there, so I decided to put up a poll that said, thanks to everyone who wants to provide feedback on the show. We're interested in hearing what you want to hear, what you want to listen to. And I put up a poll that said, what is your favorite part of the show? And you could choose multiple. You didn't have to go with one choice. But there's 27 votes so far, and the choices were opening bits, the trophy updates, the games we're playing, the news discussion, and then added by our boy Roboto, the comedy bits. And needless to say, resounding suggestion is people enjoy hearing the games we're playing, followed by the trophy updates. The news discussion, I think it now has one vote, maybe, because it's 1% of the vote.
No, it's still 0 votes.
Well, then why is it 1%? Let me say this. Hold on.
Oh, no, I clicked on to see who voted for that, and it said no votes.
Yeah. Okay, so it still counts for 1% for some reason, because Facebook math is Facebook math. So we're talking about things, the structure of the show, and we might change some things up, but we're going to analyze this a little more on how we do this, because we all still feel news has a relevant place, especially when it's big or industry, or it's PlayStation news, because this is a PlayStation show. I feel dirty saying that, but it is. And so we're going to take the feedback, and we're going to see if there's some things that we can do to make the show more entertaining for the listeners. Tricky, did you want to do your thing now, or is that later?
Yeah, just in the interest of trying something new, I didn't warn the guys ahead of time what I'm going to be doing, and we could either be doing this in the future or this could be a one-time thing. But using the fact that we have the internet and Matt and Alex both have their cameras up, Yield, unfortunately, doesn't like to have his camera on. So the way we're going to do this is I'm going to play a soundbite. And Alex and Yield are going to write down their answers.
Well, Alex and Matt are going to write down their answers.
I'm sorry. Alex and Matt are going to write down their answers. Yield, I'm going to ask you first because you don't have your camera up, because there's no way we could time this. Like, I couldn't say the first one to ring in, because with internet delays, who knows who actually got in first. So I'm going to play a soundbite, and you guys are going to write down. The key to this is you get 1 point if you can name the song, and you get another point if you can actually name the artist that made the song. The trick to this is it's not actually the song. I scroll on TikTok, which I know people hate, but there's this like AI generated thing where this ball goes down and hits a bunch of notes and it plays a song. So it's kind of like an 8-bit, but it's not really 8-bit. You'll understand as soon as you hear it.
I know what you're talking about.
So, Matt and Alex, are you guys ready?
I'm good.
Okay. So
Yeah,
I'm going to play.
I got my paper here.
I'm going to play the sound bite. And then after it's done, Yield, I'm going to ask you for your answer. But before you answer, I want to make sure Matt and Alex both wrote down their answers. All right, here we go. Okay, so I know Alex knows it already because he was just singing it, but that's basically what we're gonna do. I made this one extremely easy for you guys, just to give you an idea and fill you in. So if we continue to do this, you know what to expect in the future. All right, so Alex and Matt, hold up your papers.
So before you get started, Tricky, we do have some comments in the chat.
Okay, well,
nothing.
Alex, I didn't say to reveal the answer yet, but
nothing related to. I didn't see what the answer was, so it doesn't matter. Mr. Joe TMNT 84 is in chat talking about Helldivers would be 10,000 times better with a campaign. Roboto saying we should have banned that Gareth guy. Joe again saying comedy can't be forced and that he wants us to talk more about trophies, and that's when I told him trophies suck. And then Ray's in chat saying easy and that he already loves this game.
All right. So I don't know what Alex is doing. I just looked up and he was on the floor.
Well, we can kill some time because the ads are back and people might be missing this portion of the game.
All right. So Yield.
Yes.
So Alex, in the future, don't reveal your answer right away.
Oh, come on, who doesn't know this?
I didn't see it, so we're good.
I'm just saying in the future. All right. So Yield, what is your answer?
It's Pinky and the Brain.
All right. Do you know who wrote the song?
No.
The Animaniacs, obviously.
Okay. I feel like I'm gonna get like some groans when I reveal who the artist was. Alex, your answer, sir.
Can you see that?
Alex says, does have Pinky the Brain? And Matt, your answer.
I'm not showing you my answer because I was completely wrong.
What was your answer? I'm curious.
At least he was honest.
I felt like there were, what is it? There was like an old song, Ants Go Marching On or something like that. I don't know. Like I said, I was wrong. I admit it.
Okay. So it was Pinky and the Brain. And unfortunately, I'm going to get groans when I say this, but the artist was Pinky and the Brain.
Oh, darn it. I was going to guess. I didn't think it was right.
Because they're the ones that actually sing it. So,
all right, folks, if you like this type of content, please let us know.
They wrote it.
Well, okay, fair enough. But they're the artists that performed it, so to speak.
All right. Let's go into our updated trophy counts. Do you guys need time to pull up your sheets?
I don't know where the hell my agenda is, but I got it.
All right.
I am level 958, total trophies of 33,753. Should be 54 because I got a trophy while we were waiting. And 975 platinums.
Well, I can't. You need to update it. Then I updated it when I updated it.
I literally got it as the show started.
Well, then.
All right. Alex?
Hold on, Tricky. Are you going to take this time to clarify your Facebook post? Or is that...
Let's finish trophies, then
we'll... I was going to do trophies first.
All right. I am level 510, newly minted 510 with a total trophy count of 10,109, a platinum count of 178 and 177. This week I added a platinum and I added a 100%. So there's a game that I completed but did not get a platinum for. But sometimes that's okay.
Always okay. Yield.
I'm sitting at 518, which I think I got this week. Not for sure. It's been a couple weeks since I've been on. So it was either last week or the week before. Trophy count of 10531 and a platinum count of 196. I got a new one since the last time I was on.
I am still level 220. However, my trophy count is slowly starting to move up, all thanks to a game I've been playing, because I am now 1,318 trophies that increased by the number 5 since last week, which is a lot if you consider my record. And still 0 platinums. And then Sid is level 116, 317 trophies, and 4 plats on his new account. So Alex alluded to it. Tricky made a post regarding some articles that were going out about Microsoft and what they're spending on Game Pass. What's the correct term? Acquisitions for their service and third-party games. So Tricky decided to make a post, and there were some figures being thrown around. Tricky, would you care to clarify further?
All right. So the article is from GameSpot, and the headline is Microsoft spends $1 billion annually to get third-party games on Game Pass. So I jumped the gun, did a little bit of math. I looked up the recent Game Pass subscribers, which as of February of this year, I think was the latest number. They had 34 million subscribers to Game Pass. So just basing that on the most expensive service, which is $20, I estimated they were making $680 million a year off of Game Pass. I was off because I did a monthly cost and not a yearly cost. So they are making much more. I think the number was like 8 billion somewhere if everybody was at $20, which I thought was a little off because the pushback I got from was James McCall, who also put an article in here from Tweaktown that says Game Pass is expected to make $5.5 billion in 2025, more than 200% over 2022. So, judging from the numbers, I mean, obviously we don't have the internal numbers of Microsoft. The numbers I did at 34 million times 20 times 12 is 8 billion and change. I say it like it's insignificant, but obviously that number has to be off because if this is true that they're only expected to make 5.5 billion in 2025, then obviously not everybody's at $20. So I wanted to clarify. I made the mistake. I jumped the number. I jumped the gun and did some quick math. I was wrong, but I thought overall that because I've been saying for years, well, not years. I mean, however long Game Pass now, that there's no way that this is profitable for Microsoft. And I still feel that way because even though they're making, money off their subscriptions, they're paying $1 billion. According to this article, they're paying $1 billion to third-party games, but that's also not included in how much internally they're spending to develop their own first-party games and put them on the service. So I wanted to clarify, I was wrong on my numbers, so I am owning up to that. But I still don't think that Microsoft is profitable for Microsoft. They've got to be losing money on this. That's just my personal feeling. But I wanted to say on the show to James McCall, I was wrong. My numbers were off. Rick called me out on my numbers too. Rick is actually the one to caught my mistake. But I just wanted to say publicly on the show, I was wrong. But my personal feeling is there's still not. There's no way this can be profitable for Microsoft. So I wanted to clarify that.
So I'll be the first one to jump in here because you have a point when it comes to the process. Joe's in here saying it's not profitable when people only paid $1 and stack their subscriptions. There's a lot of factors here, and that 5.5 billion plays into that. And Tricky, you were going off of the $20 and everybody just going on the account of everybody having that at that level. But Joe brings up a good point that, plenty of people stacked, but that's starting to go away. That's feeding away. And then on top of that is, I took the numbers and looked at it at the lowest tier point. I think at the time it was 10. Now I think maybe 7 for like the lowest non-day one tier. So ultimately it's between 4 billion and 8 billion that they're making, which is a huge margin of difference. The 1 billion on games, they don't say anything about what marketing is costing them and how that's feeding into it. And yeah, there's some level of what are they spending internally on games to develop? I don't remember seeing any numbers of what Hellblade 2 cost them. But to say that you feel it's not profitable, I think is a little short-sighted, and I'm not trying to be mean. It's just the thing I've been saying all along. we all can say what we feel, but until we have hard numbers, there's nothing that we can say about whether it is or isn't. They're not telling us. I think if they were doing it this many years as not being profitable, it would have gone away long time ago.
Well, okay, so let me counterpoint that for a second, is saying that I don't think we're ever going to get actual internal numbers. One, because, I mean, Microsoft's going to keep that in-house because it's really none of the consumer's business how they make their money.
Well, I mean, they're a publicly traded company, so they kind of have to share some of that stuff.
Now I know why Matt gave a weird look because I just saw the chat. Yes and no. Like, they don't have, what I mean is they don't have to reveal that they're making X amount of money from this source or that source or this source, or what they're spending on marketing and stuff like that. I think and I think it's always been, I've been very vocal about it. I've always thought that them spending hundreds of millions of dollars to develop a game and then they release it on the service where they're not making, that $60, $70 price point, and essentially somebody can play their game for $20, which encompasses everything in the service. They're not, there's no way they're making money back on their in-house developments, their first party developments. That's the way I feel. And that's why I've always felt to the fact that Game Pass can't be profitable for them.
So, in chat, just to give you a heads up, Saber came in and is extending his condolences to you, Tricky.
Thank you.
Will is, Roboto is no longer Roboto. It is now Will Ain't Dead. So that way, I guess we know it's Will. Then there's I wasn't going to go into that. Saber says Xbox at this point is Xbox at this point in time is just a tax write-off for Microsoft. You might as well call them the WNBA. Alex, Yield, anything to say on the numbers being thrown out there?
I mean, like you, I agree that, Tricky doesn't understand. PlayStation has said they don't understand how Microsoft, that business model and how Microsoft can make money off it. I think that Tricky, much in the same mindset, he's not really going off hard numbers. He's just kind of going on how he feels and, the idea that, oh man, this has to be this expensive or this has to be, losing them money. So I think like, you, Matt, I would agree with what you said, that it's kind of short-sighted to look at that way. If you've got the hard numbers, that's fine, but we don't really have that. And, you also got to remember that like Sony and PlayStation, Xbox is just and Microsoft Gaming, like that's just part of a larger company. And again, we've seen how much money Microsoft can throw around. So just because one of your arm of your business isn't necessarily as profitable as others doesn't mean that it doesn't fit into that puzzle somewhere. So, if there's articles that come out and say, oh, Microsoft expected to make this much off of, Game Pass, I think that's kind of what we have to go off of. But, again, they are part of a larger company, so it's not like Microsoft lives and dies on Xbox.
Yield?
No, like you guys have all said, until we get hard numbers, we can all think it's not profitable, but they still keep doing it, so they're making their money somewhere.
All right. Well, we didn't want to hang on to this for too long, so we will move on to what we've been playing. And Tricky, you normally go last, so I will give you the honor of going first this time.
Played a little Division. I jumped into the PTS that came out. If anybody doesn't know, PTS stands for Public Test Server. Which means I bought the game on PC because that's the only place you can play on the PTS. Got it cheap, but the changes they're making, which I'm fully behind, because they're making so many changes to the game. Instead of going after 4 targets over the course of 4 months, 1 target released every month, and then having individual global events to fill the weeks before the next target's released, they're changing up the system. You guys remember when I was talking about how they were going to be doing seasonal characters and stuff like that?
Yes.
So what they've done is shift the focus. So they're still doing the same processes that they were going to be doing with the seasonal characters, but now you do that with your main character. So they're coming out with primary objectives. They're coming out with I forget all the terminology, but there's going to be daily objectives. There's and whatnot, and there's going to be modifiers. The modifier that's out right now, I forget the name of it right now, but the way it's going to change the gameplay is as this modifier is active, you're going to deal more damage to the NPCs, whether they're within close range, medium range, or long range. After a while of you unlocking certain things, the enemies are now going to get their own modifiers to keep up the difficulty. So where we use the skills like the turrets or the secret mines or the drones, the NPCs are going to get their own skills that they can fight back with. And it's going to change every season. So as you go through that, there's going to be the primary objectives, which you go through, and that's how you unlock the modifiers. If you're interested in the Division at all, I would highly recommend going watching their last live stream on Twitch. They spend about an hour showing everything that's going to come out with it, and they go really into detail. I'm really, really, really excited for the changes they're making. It's going to change the way we play the game, but it's not going to hurt you for all the time and investment that you put in leveling up your characters and your skills and stuff like that. It's going to change the way you go through missions. Excuse me. I get hiccups. It's going to change the way you go through the missions, but it's not going to change the overall dynamic of the game. So I'm really excited about what they're doing with that. That's supposed to be launching in approximately a month. So they're doing one PTS now. They introduced some new exotics, some new weapons. And then after this PTS, they're going to take the feedback. They're going to do another PTS weekend. And hopefully this launches on time in a month. So I'm really excited about that. Been playing more Star Wars Outlaws. That game is highly underrated. I get I see a lot of feedback from people saying, the game's not good, whatnot. It's really good. I highly recommend everybody go play it.
Did the update come out yet?
Yes, the update came out. I forgot to tell you. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, that's fine. I'm clearing out some other games before I dive into it, but I've been waiting until you said hold off until that update hit. So
yeah,
which I'm gonna just advise anybody, because this is something that I've been doing, is I've been playing it on the Ubisoft Plus service on my PC. With this update, they added cross progression, right. So you can play it on whatever system you want. You just upload your save to the cloud, and then you can access it on your other devices, which is really good. And for me, that means I can hold off on it for a little while. I don't have to come right back to it. I can wait for a sale if I want, but I can pick it up on any of the other systems. Sorry, Tricky, I just wanted to get that in there.
And one of the criticisms that I'm seeing with the game, which I think is really, you know what, I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. It's really fucking stupid what people are complaining about, is because the game is advertised as not having load screens. If you guys played,
that would be a good thing, wouldn't it? Or explain why they're complaining that it doesn't have load screens.
Well, if you played like God of War Ragnarok, it's the same thing. Like every game, no matter what game is on the market, they all have loading screens, but they hide it. They hide it in some kind of animation, something like that. Like in God of War Ragnarok,
or during the cutscene that's loading in the background.
Yeah, it's like in God of War Ragnarok, it's when you go through a door, it slows down and shows an animation of him going through the door, but in reality, it's a loading screen loading the next area. In Star Wars Outlaws, the way they mask it is you launch from the planet out into outer space or back and forth, and people are complaining that they're hiding a loading screen with that animation.
That's
and I'm like,
new.
I haven't heard that complaint.
I saw that. I don't know why. but it really fucking pissed me off. I'm like, you guys are complaining about an animation that's pretty cool looking, by the way.
It's a lot better than freaking Starfield's launch animation.
I don't even know what that is, but
it's crappy.
It's the same thing. Like when you hyperdrive from one orbit to another, like you're going through, you guys seen like movies like where they go to warp speed and it's just like it's the white blue lines going right past your whatnot, and inside of those animations, you're having a conversation and people are complaining about that, and I'm like, you guys are complaining about an animation hiding a loading screen, which every game has to have a loading screen. They're just doing better at hiding them now.
You would be surprised at what people complain about. I mean, you think of Ratchet and Clank, in between like planets, historically, it would show the ship traveling from planet to planet, and that would be part of the loading screen.
So Saber's in chat saying that he has to disagree with you, and this is a complaint people had, and it's something that they're addressing. And he gets frustrated when he's playing and he's 15 minutes into a mission, especially a stealth mission, and you end up being seen. You have to start all over again. Okay, that is something that I've disliked.
Okay, so I have to correct you. That's one of the things they just changed with the patch that Yoda was asking about. They had bad checkpoint systems. And yes, that was a problem in the game, but that's been fixed. They've given better checkpoints. So now you're 15 minutes into the mission. You may have to go back 5-10 minutes because you got caught. But it's not like you have to go back to the start again and start all over again and work your way through. So that's been fixed.
And then Joe's complaining that he doesn't want a stealth Star Wars game at all, and that the game wasn't advertised as a stealth game either.
That is a fair criticism. I didn't know it was a stealth game either, but I'm kind of enjoying
stealth. Stealth is a part of it. It was advertised as an open world Star Wars game, and there's stealth sections in it. Now, stealth plays a heavy part. I personally have an annoyance, which a gripe one I'll talk about when we get to what I've been playing. But is there anything else tricky on Star Wars, or anything else you've been playing?
I'm trying to think of anything else I've hopped in. I did start playing MLB The Show.
I'm sorry.
Why, you don't like baseball?
I've lost. So, you got to think I've been playing baseball since Tecmo Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And all I wanted as growing up is I wanted the games to be more real, the Madden, the baseball games. And then when they finally got there, it was almost, and this is going to sound dumb, too real.
Too simmy.
And it wasn't as fun anymore. And now all they do is they tack on these things that for me, doesn't feel fun. Relive baseball moments. I don't want to. It also helps the Reds suck. So I don't want to relive baseball moments. You know what I'm saying?
There's no Reds moments to relive.
Well, you have to go back to the 70s to do that.
Sorry, that was a that was a
no.
bad thing. I'm sorry.
You're right. The last time that they were consistently tough was in the 70s.
I mean, the only reason I played it is because Dex told me it was like a very easy plat, and he got both plats in the 5 and the 4 version within a day or two. So,
man, congrats.
Yeah, it's apparently a really easy plat. You just change a couple sliders here and there, and you could basically like get all the trophies in like a day or two. Hopped into some Helldivers with Alex and Riley last night. And then I'm playing.
How'd you do?
I did fine.
Are you feeling more comfortable?
No. And I think that's only because of the fact that I was playing on medium by myself. And then Riley and Alex jumped in, and Alex asked me to bump it up to, I think it was challenging.
Level 4, because I wanted to get some of the rare samples for my upgrades.
Oh, you were playing on 3.
Yeah.
No. Challenging's 4. Well, I guess if you count trivial as one of the difficulties.
Yeah. So, it's not that I think it's a bad game. I never thought it was a bad game. It's just I feel like I get overwhelmed too quickly, and I also think the gun I'm using is not a good gun because I don't feel like I'm doing damage to the enemies half the time, and especially if I get if I felt like I'm facing a heavy, I feel like I'm not killing them fast enough to protect myself.
Tricky, you're using a laser-based weapon. Is it the scythe? Is that what you're using?
I think that's what it is.
Well, the problem is, Tricky, is that you haven't played consistently, so you don't have a lot of the best stratagems. Like, I have all the stratagems, so I'm just throwing out eagles and orbitals like crazy. You don't have the stronger weapons to fight the big enemies. So part of your problem is that you just haven't invested the time to get better weapons. And that's kind of just because you're on level 13 now, right?
Yeah, I just hit 13. But also the fact is because I was playing on medium. Medium doesn't give you the chance to get the rare samples. So I haven't been able to unlock stratagems because I don't have the rare samples or the super rare.
No, the stratagems is only to upgrade your ship modules.
Oh, that's what I meant.
The stratagems cost you requisition slips, and you get tons of that. The samples are to upgrade your ship.
Okay, so I haven't been able to upgrade my ship, which I also think is a problem. And then the last game, because I've been talking for a while here, I've been playing a game which I can't tell you anything about the game. I can only tell you that I'm playing it because I'm under an NDA. It's called Off the Grid. And all I can tell you about it is a cyberpunk battle royale.
Oh, you lost me at battle royale.
Yield, I'm with you on that. I only gave it a shot because I got the code in the on an off chance. I tried it out. I will tell you, I started thinking this could be a scam because I got a beta code and then I tried to log in and it said the servers are going to be up in 3 days. So I went back when the timer was up, and then there was another timer saying the servers are going to be up in 10 hours. And then I went back, and then it said the servers are not going to be up for another 2 more days. So I don't know what's going on, but I've only been able to play one game. And the one game that I played was fairly fun. But I don't know that I'm going to be going back to try out this beta anymore. And that's all I've been playing.
All right. Yield, what have you been playing?
So I've been playing, I played Hitchhiker, which that was my latest platinum. Fun little story-driven game, really. You just sit around in a car.
I was gonna say that sounds like it could be a horror game, The Hitchhiker.
Yeah, no, so the premise of the game is, I don't know if your player's in a coma, and they never really answer that, but you're like riding around with these different people in your car, trying to figure out, basically trying to reclaim your memories of, you're going after somebody, but why am I going after them? Why do I feel driven to go after them? And it was a neat story, and then we get to the end, and then I was just kind of like, well, I thought it was kind of like a cutscene setting up the final cutscene, and then the credits roll. And I was just kind of like, well, what just happened? Other than that, up until that point, I really enjoyed the game. And I don't hate the game. I just like that last final cutscene, I just must have missed something. But I played that, fired up some, went back to Farm Simulator a little bit, was messing around with that. I did get a trophy for completing 50 missions. So that was
jumped into Gas Station Simulator yet?
I'm happy. No, I haven't.
Are you going to?
Although the brain, I am thinking about it because I've heard that's a fun game. Although I am going to pick up one that the brain was telling me about called Treasure Hunter Simulator that he was playing, and he's like, "Dude, you should check it out." And I did, and I was like, you know what? I could totally see me playing that. So
with all these simulator games, Yield's preparing for his second career.
Right?
He's going to become a jack of all trades. Because I think I also sent you a picture. It was on sale on the PlayStation Network, like supermarket simulator or like grocery simulator or something like that.
I went and looked at that one, and that one's just it's too much, too much managing for me. You know, you build your store and you set your prices, and I was just like, I don't think I want to be that involved. I did run across one of I was looking at simulators one day. There's one called Bum Simulator, and you are a
homeless
bum
guy on the streets.
Yes, you are a homeless guy on the streets. You can throw pigeons at people. You can throw bottles at people. You can flip people off. You can get into fights with other bums. I was like, this
sounds like it's a yield ass game right there.
Wait, hold on.
I was watching it and I'm like, I could so see me playing this.
This is like the human version of Goat Simulator. You just go around terrorizing people.
I did see V playing Supermarket Simulator.
I think that's the one that I sent Yield, yeah, because it's on sale.
She has been about that game like it's her literal job.
That is my job. That is my job. That's what I do.
You're like one of those guys who goes to play, GTA, and you come home after working at your forklift job to be told, all right, go pick up this stuff and move it over here using a forklift.
Right. And I've been playing Fired Up Gatling Gears again, and I'm on the last. There are 5 sections, and I think there's like 4 or 5 chapters to each section. So I'm on the last section, I think chapter 3. So I'm almost ready to roll credits on that game. I've been playing some Lawnmower Simulator, just kind of chipping away at that. Nothing real fancy about that. You mow a yard and you move on. I fired up Leisure Suit Larry, Wet Dreams Dry Twice. I got stuck, which I always do in these types of games. I got annoyed with myself because I've tried everything that I can possibly think of, even thinking outside the box. And so I pulled up a guide, and it was like, I didn't effing think of that. And so I did what I needed to do. I moved on to the next section, and I'm moving through stuff. I'm solving puzzles. I'm feeling good again. And then I got stuck again. And then it was time to go to bed. So I'll probably be pulling out a guide, trying to figure out where I got stuck again, what I forgot to do. And then the other game I would dove back into was Tunic. I finally beat the final boss. And that was another one where when the credits rolled, I was like, what the hell, man? I wasn't expecting this ending. But the most thing I was really jacked about was they have their puzzles. And one of their puzzles is what I call it a fairy puzzle. You have to find the fairies. And there are, 18 or so fairies. And most of them they're all button combinations, but some of them are like hidden in the background or on the ground, or you have to decipher the texts to what you need, the code you need to punch. And I figured all those out on my own without looking them up. And I feel pretty proud of myself on that. But now I think I'm to the point in Tunic where I'm going to need to get a guide out to find the rest of the hidden collectibles, which I'm okay with. Because I was able to beat the boss without looking it up. I thought I was going to have to do that because it was kicking my butt. But I think that's real. Oh, and I've also been playing some World of Warship Legends because they just had some random missions that were on there. And so I was like, well, I'll earn some free crates. You never know what you're going to get out of a free crate, probably junk. And I actually ended up getting 2 days or 2 packs of 14 days worth of premium. And I got a free premium ship out of those packs. So that's kind of a win-win. And played some Castlevania Symphony of the Night at my brother's yesterday. And then what we played the longest of yesterday was we played South Park Stick of Truth.
Nice.
And we were passing the controller. Kind of just here, you play for a bit until you die or you beat a boss. So kind of about every half hour we were passing the controller. And I forgot. I'd gotten mad at myself because I think I was I had started it before on the 3. And I think I was trying to limit my playthroughs. And I screwed something up and someone died or something. And I got mad and quit playing. But playing with the guys and just passing the controller, I was like, I so got to get back into this game. Because it was so much fun. And I think that's everything I've been playing the last couple of weeks. Oh, some Rocket League. Rocket League.
Oh, I did play some Rocket League too. Sorry.
I will say this, for anybody who's enjoying Tunic, there's a game that came out in 2017 that you all might enjoy. It's kind of Zelda inspired. It's that kind of game. It's called Hob, H-O-B. It is available.
Ocean Horn.
Yeah. I don't even know what that game is. It's on the PS4. Obviously, you could play it on the 5, but it's very much Zelda inspired, same way Tunic is. Not as cryptic as Tunic, but still a good time. All right. If that is all you've been playing, Yield, Alex, we will move on to you.
So yes, gotten together this week a couple times with my Trophy Horrors brethren and members of the community. Played with Nitro and Tricky on Thursday for some Rocket League. Enjoying the new season. Got together with Tricky and Riley last night for some Helldivers 2. And then, as I said before, Nitro, looking forward to you jumping in and helping us kill some bugs and autotons whenever you decide to download the game. Other than that, I mentioned I got a Platinum Trophy. That Platinum Trophy was in one of the free games this month, the monthly games for PlayStation Plus, Little Nightmares 2. And, I talked about how I don't really appreciate, or I'm not a huge fan of horror games where you cannot defend yourself. But for some reason, Little Nightmares just is always kind of like, I'm fine with it. I can't really explain it, but just this is one of those scenarios where I like the puzzles and the traversal enough to where, the stealth aspect of it. Everyone knows, or a lot of people may know that I try to play Metal Gear Solid, and I'm not a huge fan of stealth. I like the kind of Sly Cooper stealth, not the Metal Gear Solid stealth. But the stealth in these games, these puzzle little platformers, I do like that quite a bit. So Little Nightmares is just this weird like middle ground where it hits the stealth aspect that I really like to play. And it may help that the fact that I like the world they've built, I like the aesthetic. Kind of reminds me of Coraline if Coraline were more gritty and grotesque. But I really like the style of the game. I like the world they built in Little Nightmares 2. I enjoy Little Nightmares 1, but I think that Little Nightmares 2 builds on it and makes it a better game. I just think that everything, flows a lot better. And it's a longer game. It's bigger. Still not very long because obviously within a week I got the Platinum Trophy. But I do think as good as Little Nightmares 1, Little Nightmares 2 is even better. And one of the things I do appreciate, there are collectibles in this game. They don't overwhelm you with collectibles, but there are two main types of collectibles, glitches and then hats. But even though I do like collectibles because they're just a part of a game, like a little side piece that's always kind of nice to do to kind of just divert your attention for a little bit. But the last chapter, there's 5 chapters in this game. The very last chapter does not have collectibles in it. So I do appreciate those games where they do have collectibles, but the very last chapter is basically like, hey, enjoy the story, because that's when you find out everything, that's in the background that you may not have picked up on before, and just enjoy the puzzles and just figure that out and just kind of go on from there. It's not like a whole, oh man, if I missed collectibles in this, I'm going to have to come back to it. So I do enjoy those chapters, especially the final chapters where it's focused on story, on puzzles, and just getting through the game as opposed to having a bunch of collectibles in there to worry about. Lastly, on Little Nightmares 2, I did enjoy, there's not really boss fights in these games. If you've never played one, there's kind of like a main antagonist that you're running from in each level or each chapter. Sometimes you just escape them. Other times you get into a situation where you can kill them or dispatch them or trap them or something like that. It's very situational, so it's not a traditional boss fight. But this game had a final boss fight to it, and it was, as far as things go, pretty unique. I enjoyed it quite a bit. And again, the first game had a final boss to it too, and final boss in air quotes. But I enjoyed this one a lot more. I thought this one was just overall like a better system to how you defeat the boss, and it fits better into the story that they are trying to tell with the two characters the one character you play as, and then your side character, your friend, your what am I trying to think of? Not your apprentice, not your colleague, but your cohort through the adventure of Little Nightmares 2. So overall, even though I'm not, I don't like being defenseless and stealth isn't always my cup of tea, Little Nightmares 2 just kind of scratches the itch. It's just in this weird middle ground that I just do enjoy. So again, shorter game, easy Platinum Trophy, but enjoyable nonetheless. And it tells like a pretty gruesome, very, the story that it tells is good. And it's, very, it pulls you in, but it's not, it's obviously there's a certain grotesqueness to the story that kind of makes it unique from a lot of other games. Kind of like, you know, the Insides, the oh god, what's the other Playdead game? Help me with the giant spider in the first level, Limbo. Okay, that's it. Kind of like that. There's a certain like macabreness to the story that I can certainly appreciate. So, Little Nightmares 2 is my platinum trophy. I've also been since getting the platinum trophy in that, I've kind of been dabbling in a few games here and there. I downloaded Under the Waves, which was another game added to the game catalog this month for PlayStation Plus, and it's published by Quantic Dream, I believe. And overall, like it's an underwater game that deals with, you know, underwater exploration. It deals with, you know, traveling through the human psyche. You know, you play as a character, and it just kind of, I guess, explores his mindset, and, you know, as the story goes on, what's going on in his life. So all things that I would seem to like, but I did hear that there are issues with some of the trophies popping, and, you know, glitching trophies is not my cup of tea. So I downloaded it. I haven't played it. I may go back to it because it does look like an interesting game, but I just want to let anybody know that if you're thinking about Under the Waves, kind of look up the trophy guide or look up, you know, feedback on the trophies, because if you're a trophy hunter, you may not be able to get all the trophies that easily. Two other games, though, that I did download and play. The first one was Thunder Ray, which was that Punch-Out-esque game that I talked about. I think it's a Crunchyroll game, so it's like an anime style Punch-Out, not a clone, but very much a Punch-Out-esque game. And so you're a boxer, and essentially you are the best boxer in the world, Thunder Ray, and you are looking for competition at this point because you're just so damn good. So you turn to aliens and otherworldly beings. So you're fighting enemies that have, you know, shoot lasers at you or have shields around them that you have to bust before you can do a lot of damage to them. And I will say about this game that while I love Punch-Out, I am decidedly not good at this game because art style is great. Everything is fantastic about that. But just, I feel like with Punch-Out, they did a good job of making the game challenging where each boxer was a puzzle, but they telegraphed moves well enough to where you could learn through the process of fighting them and losing. Now, don't get me wrong, in Thunder Ray, you will get better over time, but I also feel like they don't telegraph things. Like your reaction time has to be really, really good in this game because some of the characters are extremely hard. And I you know, in reviews of this game or what people's feedback on it, I did hear that people felt that some of the boxers were unnecessarily unfair and just too hard, which I was playing the game on Rookie, and I was still struggling with some of the fighters. So it is a difficult game. And like I said, your reactions have to be pretty quick. And so that's one thing about the game that I didn't like. I enjoy, you know, the art style and everything, and you know, it's a Punch-Out like game. So I'm going from the game essentially is the bosses. The bosses are, it's like a boss fight game where it's just one after the other after the other. It is shorter. I think there's only 9 boxing matches. So, you know, I got all the trophies, and, you know, you could theoretically get them in probably under an hour if you wanted to. Again, there is some resistance in some of the fights, so you're not going to beat them all right away. But yeah, for me, the game was too hard. And maybe I'm just not good enough because there are videos of people online doing it, you know, with no damage runs and stuff like that. So there are people that are really good at this game. For me, though, and, you know, I've beaten Punch-Out. I've beaten Mike Tyson. I've beaten the Bruiser Brothers for Super Punch-Out. So, I mean, like, I cut my teeth on these games. I know what I'm doing. This game, though, I feel like the reactions were they required a lot more quicker reactions. Whereas I think, like, Punch-Out, again, isn't easy. They are challenging, but I feel like they give you more time to react than this game in particular. So, and again, Thunder Ray being $15, maybe wait for a sale if you're going to check it out. I'm glad I played it, but also, like, once I got all the trophies on the PlayStation 4 version, I deleted it from my console because, like, man, I'm just not going to get good. I'm just not good enough at this game. There is a PS5 version with a platinum, but they add new trophies where you have to run through the entire roster of boxers in a single run. So there's a rookie run, which you get 3 lives, or continues, which you should say. There's like a medium run where you get 2 lives, and then there's a hard run where you get 1 life. So you have to make it through all the boxers with those lives, or you get kicked back to the front. So there are trophies tied to that. And to me, that probably makes this platinum unattainable for me on the PS5 because, yeah, it's just, I'm just not good enough. So I'm willing to admit that. But I mean, overall, Thunder Ray, I wish it was longer, but I definitely like the animation style, and I like it being kind of an homage to Punch-Out. I kind of like Punch-Out better because I don't really like the Super Punch-Out added like people who could kick and do headbutts and stuff like that. So it was a step above the Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. But this one with all the lasers and stuff, I do feel like that is a bit over the top. It fits with the alien themes and the alien fighters, But again, for me, with a Punch-Out type game, it's just kind of more than I bargained for. A little over the top for me. So, but yeah, like I said, Thunder Ray, smaller game. If you're a Punch-Out fan, go check it out. On the PSN, you can go watch some videos on it, see if it's your cup of tea. Lastly, I also played some Card Football, which is, I'm a big fan of NFL Street, NBA Street, all that kind of stuff. This game is not exactly that, but it is an arcade style football game. Take place on the gridiron. Just basically these street-like gridirons. So basically, it's like street football essentially, but it's more cartoony style than say the grittiness of NFL Street. And kind of the hook to this game is that you have like Wild Card. You have these power cards that decks of these cards that you can collect along the way. And essentially, these are modifiers. They modify your abilities. They break the rules of the game, or they have like some over-the-top superpower, like one that turns you like into a rocket human being that makes you basically shoot across the field and be able to tackle people with some force. Or there's a almost like Hulk smash one where if you hit the button to trigger it, you can basically jump in the air and punch the ground, and it creates a shockwave that knocks everyone around you down, and that gives you some time to run away from the defenders. So. Again, an arcade-style football game, but with the added aspect of these cards that you collect and that can modify the game. And you have energy every down that you can use to apply to these cards. Some cards may be too expensive. You may not have enough energy to use every down, but they are, if you're someone who doesn't like that added layer of wackiness, like Yield, Rumble, think of Rumble in Rocket League, where you have all like the harpoon and the ice powers and all this stuff, that the layer on top of the Rocket League. So it's just that in an arcade football game. So it kind of separates it, but I've seen some people online that wishes you could turn that aspect of it off. But again, it's kind of the hallmark aspect of this game. I do appreciate how there are a lot of, like in wrestling, like I appreciate the roster of a wrestling game, but I also appreciate how the arenas are kind of true to life. Like you get the old school arenas, like a WrestleMania arena or Survivor Series arena with a big skull, or like a Backlash arena. I like that kind of shit. So the fact that this game has like a field that's set at like a castle in England, or on a movie set, or on a pier where you can see like ships going in the background, like that's the kind of stuff I really appreciate. So the game is, it is fun. I don't think that it lives quite up to the Street. If you're looking for something that's as good as NFL Street, I don't think you're going to find it, but it is fun. And hopefully, we start seeing, I haven't played MLB The Show because regardless of whether or not it's an easy platinum or not, I'm not a huge fan of the sim games. I love the arcade style. So this is in that vein. With some effort and, some iteration, they could definitely improve upon it. One complaint I do have is with the wild cards. I do feel like that the action is fast paced enough because, with sports games, you have a lot of different buttons for strafing and for juking and for stiff arming and turbo and all that. So there is a lot to pay attention to on the controller. And I feel like with the wild cards, sometimes I don't get to activate them in time because I'm worried about so many other things. All the other defenders, what button do I have to press in this time? So I feel like the action isn't fast. It is intense and fast enough at sometimes where I can't activate the wild card. So that is one thing. There aren't a lot of layers to each play to this game. But I mean, overall, it is a fun arcade game. The wild cards do add something. I just think that, a lot of people may be turned off because you think of arcade, games, they like simulator games have a lot more to them. There's a lot more, nuance. There's a lot more technicalness to them. There's just a lot more to pay attention to. Arcade style games kind of cut down on that. This game feels like it's got, even for an arcade game, a lot layered on. So I do wish there was a little bit less of that. But yeah, I mean, this could definitely be a series that, with some iteration, could get us closer to that NFL Street 3 or NFL Street 4. I can't remember which one they were on, that we've always wanted. So yeah. Well, Tricky's saying we're already an hour. Like, hey, if listeners want talk about games, I'm your guy. I'm going to sit here and talk for like a half an hour about that shit. So
I'm not telling you to stop talking. I'm just giving a heads up.
No, I'm done. So, but no, I mean, I'll just wrap up by saying, if you're interested in Wild Card Football, it is on the PlayStation Plus Extra catalog, the game catalog. So it was added recently alongside Under the Waves. So yeah, go check it out if you're looking for an arcade style football game, because I am having fun with it. But I think there is a lot to it, I will say, for an arcade style football game.
All right, so I don't get to say this much, and Alex was just talking about football, and I don't get often don't get to brag about this, but the Giants won today and the Cowboys lost. So, and
Suck it, Cowboys fans. And your Rangers won.
Yes, and the Rangers won.
The sports gods are shining brightly on Tricky Mick today.
I can't believe the Cowboys lost to Baltimore.
I mean, the Ravens are a good team. I know they're 0-2. They were 0-2 going to this week, but I mean, they are a good team.
And the Giants were a sucky team, and they won.
I mean, Daniel Jones had a good game. Give him credit, but yeah, I mean, they were playing the Browns, Cleveland, which is also another sucky team.
All right, I'm in charge. I'm cutting the sports talk short.
Well, good. I mean, we're already at an hour.
So I've played a couple different games this week. The predominant one, some of the ones in the background are just Forza Horizon 4, playing that on the Steam Deck, Dead Cells, playing that on the Steam Deck, Hades 2, playing that on the Steam Deck, failing horribly at some of the bosses there. But the three main games I'm talking about today. First up, Diablo 4. So my friends and I beat this story campaign. I think I had mentioned that last week, but now I'm getting to the post-game, the seasonal stuff. What that is every season you get to make a character and go through some story seasonal beats and collect gear and make your character as powerful as possible. And then eventually that becomes your character in your stable. So for those of you who don't know, you can pick a couple different classes. In my case, I picked the Sorceress, and I am a fire-based sorceress, just literally igniting things from, dozens of feet away. It's a lot of fun. But you can also play that game up to, I think, three of your best friends, and I have Zelda disagreeing with me in the background. Can I help you?
I was about to say, did Zelda not like that choice?
Zelda is never wrong. Zelda is always right.
I guess I'll stop talking about Diablo now.
There is a reason it's called The Legend of Zelda instead of The Legend of Link.
Which we are less than a week from the real Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom coming out. So I'm excited for that.
I think I'm actually going to buy that game.
It looks good. I'm very excited with the change up to the formula.
If anybody wants to be nice and buy it for me for my birthday.
So don't buy it yourself.
Switch?
Again?
Do you even have a Switch?
I have 3 of them.
You disgust me.
Why do you have 3?
One for me, one for the goddess, and one for Sweet Mama D.
Makes sense. We got 2 Switches in this house.
Alice, you're looking like you're confused.
Yeah, I am confused.
Why?
I mean, I guess that makes sense, but that's a lot of Switch. I mean, that's just tricky. You don't. I'm not trying to insult you, but I don't think you understand that for a lot of people, that's a lot of video game hardware. You just in general have a lot of video game hardware, whereas like we have 1 Switch and 1 PlayStation 5 for this house. So
okay, I bought my Switch at launch. The goddess wanted one when she moved, and then Sweet Mama D wanted the Pokemon themed one for her birthday, so I bought it for her birthday.
No, I mean, I'm not trying to get in your case. I just think, my facial expression, like, you just kind of have to understand sometimes that, like, not everybody is as comfortable spending that much money on video game hardware. So, like, I mean, that's just the reaction of my face,
Well, I'll continue on now that we got that out of the way.
Thank you.
I also put time, and Saber said this in chat earlier, the new Warhammer 2 game, Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2. It is a balls-to-the-wall thrilling adventure that you can play with up to 2 of your friends. And they have its own progression system, classes. It's truly a hyper-violent, ultra-bro code machine. But it's so deep into the human... So there's multiple factions, much like any other Warhammer or class-based game. But the thing that you have going for it is like you're this super talented Marine that is, you come to the battlefield to save everybody else. And it's amazing action. Gunplay is okay, but there's a lot of melee combat, which is fun. A lot of glory kills a la Doom Eternal, if you remember what those are like.
Do you still have the chainsword?
You can get the chainsword, yes.
Yes.
I was talking to Tross about it. Well, actually, Tross was talking to me about it, and it does look interesting to me. But I didn't want to get it because I've never played any of the Warhammer games, And Tross basically told me, like, you don't have to play any of the other games. This one can stand alone.
You can watch primer for Space Marine 1, which will give you some of the story beats you need for this one. But yeah, they're really all the other games are kind of disconnected. Listen, if you just go in expecting a great action adventure with you'll love this. Is like as a Tyranid jumps at you, you grab it midair and swipe your chainsword through it. It's awesome. It's brutal. And like I said,
it looks like they upped the gore from respect. Well, I mean, obviously you couldn't have that much gore on the 3, but it looks like it's just Days Gone hordes and a lot of gore.
Yep, and the sheer amount of enemies that they have on screen is astounding. It puts my computer through the trials. So definitely look into that. It's a lot of fun, especially if you can play it with your friends. Because what you do is you have the main campaign, and then you have like a side story with 3 other characters that, if you think of it like an A story and a B story, they're doing the B story. So while the main crew is doing their mission, you're doing things to support that crew. And they say, listen, hey, you may not want to play these before playing the campaign mission. It might reveal some story spoilers, but that's the fun part, is you get the progression, the class-based warfare, as opposed to the single player story campaign, or not even single player, just the set campaign of that. And then if that's not enough, there's still a PvP mode. So you get co-op, PvE, and PvP all in this game, and it's a lot of fun. And yeah, it's heavy on the for the Emperor, humanity will never die meme that's going on out there.
So stealing from Helldivers and Democracy.
No, well, I mean, you got to figure Warhammer's been
around a lot longer.
I was joking. Just to clarify, I'm joking.
But speaking of Helldivers, excellent segue. I got back into playing Helldivers because they have instituted their patch on September 17th. The new Chemical Agents Warbond dropped on the 19th, and we'll talk about that a little later. But
dude,
I'm very happy.
Have you tried the orbital napalm?
Bro, okay. Here's what I do.
That's like my favorite weapon.
I go in with the cookout shotgun, the
Yes.
Christopher handheld, the flamethrower, the orbital napalm, the orbital eagles, the incendiary grenades.
Not
the orbital eagles.
Attention.
I see. Yeah, I said orbital eagles. I meant the eagle napalm.
Eagle napalm.
And then I use the laser, and I think that I'm short one fire-based attack slot somewhere.
Well, what you need is the flame-throwing
dog.
Yes.
So I have a theory, like the twist in a horror movie. I have a theory about the Helldivers because I think that I know who's responsible with all that firepower, literally. Who's responsible for all the fire tornadoes on these planets?
Fuck those things, by the way.
I think it's absolutely mad.
Fuck those things.
See, what you need to do, Tricky, is you need to go through the, I can't exactly remember the name, but you need to go through the fire warbond. And we went through, it wasn't Hellmire, but it was another planet. I forgot I was playing Helldivers too. I didn't mention that. And we threw on our 75% fire armor, and those fire tornadoes don't fear me no more.
Those son of a bitches were following me around last night.
Yes, they do that.
I was playing it, and we were on Hellmire, and sure enough, there were a fair amount of times that I was using the cookout, and I was actually pushing bugs back into the path of a fire tornado. But
That's nice.
There were plenty of times that I got caught off balance, and even with my armor, I couldn't escape them because I dive out of the way, and they would just sweep right back to the direction I dove. So that was my experience with that. But other than that, the only other game I was playing was Astro Bot. That's where I got my trophies this week. I 100%ed the first nebula that you can do with all the secrets and all the different things that happen to it. So I got all the bots, I got all the puzzle pieces. And I will say this is, I told Tricky this before we started. It's a fun action adventure. Or I'm sorry, it's a fun adventure game. And yeah, I feel like the main purpose of the game isn't to beat the level. I feel like the main purpose of the game is to rescue all the bots and get all the puzzle pieces. Beating the levels is secondary to that. So as a result, I'm still going to play a lot of this. I actually have my PC set up with remote play, and it was working perfectly over my wired connection, which is a great thing. And even when the main TV is downstairs, I don't feel like going down there or it's occupied, I can play it up here and it plays just as well. I don't need to get myself a nice little portal.
So I got to ask you, Matt, because I kind of alluded to it without trying to spoil anything. You've obviously, because you collected all the bots, you played the mission after the boss level.
Yes.
Do you give any credence or not credence, but any credibility to what I said about if they make games in those style of levels, you could see Astro Bot being a good marketing tool or possibly becoming the new mascot?
I absolutely think that if you focus on the platform, and the platforming in this game is strong, it is very good. And if you come up with other ideas on collectible items, they're using Astro Bot because, or they use all the mascots and things like that as the different special VIP bots, because that's what came from the Astro Bot's playroom. And they figured they could capitalize on that. But if they could figure out what else they can do on how to capitalize on the strong platforming, this could definitely be a series that they need to stay on. So that was a lot. Hopefully everybody got something out of what we've been playing this week, and we are now going to go to the news. We're going to do this a little differently than what we've done before. So first article is coming from IGN. It's Ryan Dinsdale talking about Sony announcing the PS1 style PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 5 Pro as part of the 30th anniversary. So we all saw this article. We all see that they're going to be putting out these PlayStation 1 style panels on your PS5s. They did this, I think it was a while ago. I thought they did it for one of the other consoles.
Was it the PS4?
I swear they did it on the 4 as well for like the 25th anniversary.
I think they did like the 500 million sold, because I bought that DualShock.
So
that's what you're referring to.
Yeah, so the thing here to talk about is that the PS5 Pro is going to be a limited edition type version of this. It doesn't sound like the base PS5 is, but after all, this is really just kind of face plates and...
Well, no, it is for the original, but it's not for the launch PS5. It's for the updated slim version.
The slim version, yeah.
Yeah, so they will be selling a limited edition of the anniversary collection for that, or for the Pro and for the current 5 model.
And then there's going to be the same style of DualSense, the Portal, and the DualSense Edge. So I guess the biggest question is here, Alex, starting with you, any desire to pick this up?
Before we go on, I do want to say that it was the 20th anniversary PS4 you were thinking of, Matt, that was modeled. They came out with a model to pay homage to the PS1. And it's going for $1,600 on eBay for one listing that I see. Sorry, excuse me. No, I've got my PS5. I've got my purple side plates and my purple Galactic controller. I don't need anything else. I shared this with a group because I did think it was slick looking, but I've got what I need for my PS5. So I'm not going to buy the Pro for this. I'm not going to buy any side plates for PlayStation 5, but I do think it is neat. And I do like when they can bring in, part of the thing about Astro Bot that makes it so appealing is all the references to PlayStation history. Well, I do like when they, we've all, a lot of us grew up playing on these consoles. So when you can make your newer console kind of look like a console you had in the past, like that's cool. And so, I think they've done a good job with the design. So, for me, I like looking at it, but it's not something I'm going to spend money on.
And I think that's the thing that we forget is that you could just as easily get plates to decorate your base PS5. Yield, you going to do one or the other?
If they come out with some plates for the disc 5 that I got, I might get those gray ones. Those look kind of cool. But if I didn't have a 5, I would definitely consider getting that one because the white one is just bleh.
And Tricky, you have gone on record saying you're not yet interested in getting a Pro. Does this sweeten the deal any?
No. But I will say the charging cable, I'd like one of those. I don't know if you guys saw it, but it's in the old style of like the little. I don't want to call it a chuck, but when you plug the PlayStation into the original PlayStation, they had that little gray block.
Yes.
The charger cable was like that, but they obviously they made it USB-C, but it looks like that. So when you plug it into your system, it looks like you're plugging it in the PlayStation 1 controller. So I thought that was pretty cool. I'd like one of those.
Will is in chat throwing shade at the purple plates that Alex is proud of and said, did they run out of masculine colors? Which is funny and ironic because you're not seeing this in chat, Alex. But Will's name color currently is purple. So
there ain't nothing wrong with the purple side plates or the color purple at all. I like the colder colors. I like blues. I like purples. That's just me. That's who I am.
The color purple wasn't a bad movie either.
Okay. Anyways,
sorry. Also, I don't know if you guys seen it, but I watched the first episode of Penguin last night. He has a purple Maserati in that show. That's
supposed to be really good, from what I hear.
From what I saw, it looks really cool. They went back to his origin story, so that it's before he became a kingpin. And I will say the first 5 minutes of that show really sets the tone.
Yeah, but apparently Colin Farrell hated being in all that suit and everything. He says, from what I saw a quote that he said that he would never do that again. So
yeah, so I doubt we're gonna get to season 2.
So, with that said, we can move on to the next topic. Because I already have my PS5, so I don't need to get anything. But from IGN and Alex Stedman. Hey, remember how Palworld was a breakout success? And there was a ton of people who went and told on them and said, hey, Nintendo, Pokemon Company, you should sue Pocketpair. They're copying you. Well, Nintendo and the Pokemon Company finally have brought a lawsuit to Pocketpair for their breakout success Palworld, but it's not for the reasons you think. This is a patent lawsuit, not a copyright lawsuit. So all the people went out there and said, this PAL looks similar to this Pokemon. You should sue them. That is not what they are going after Pocketpair for. There's an unknown patent that Nintendo and Pokemon Company are trying to sue Pocketpair for. And unfortunately, there's not much that we know about this. It is in Japanese court. It's not the US where, there's trademarks and copyright things that need to be worried about over here. And I know in the statement, they said Nintendo and Pokemon Company will defend our patents and copyrights in any way, shape, or form. But the lawsuit, and I want to be straight up here, is on a patent, which means it's on some form of technology or idea or implementation of ideas that Nintendo and Pokemon Company are going after Pocketpair. Does anybody see this being potentially successful?
Yes.
100%. Why is that?
I see this being successful because there's no way you're going to deny that they didn't model this game after Pokemon.
Yeah, but there's Tim. There's other games that do the same thing. It's not just Palworld.
No, I'm not disagreeing with that, but this is Will says in the chat, I heard Nintendo changed the patent after the fact. I don't know what that means. I mean, I know what you're saying, but I don't know the details of that. That's what I'm saying.
There was a patent they were just issued in August. Some people are potentially thinking that might be it. There's also one Japanese article I saw indicating it might be the throwing a ball to catch the monster mechanic. So
I can speak a little bit on copyright because I have Proven Gamer and Trophy Horrors. I own the copyrights for those. I own the trademarks for those. And there was actually a time somebody reached out to me and said that they wanted to purchase the name Proven Gamer and Trophy Horrors. And I stated to them that I wasn't willing to sell it. And they remarked, well, we'll just use it anyway. So I did a little research. So Pocketpair is getting away with their designs of their pals because they can design a character, and as long as it doesn't go over a certain percentage of the character design, they can get away with it. And I'm not sure when it comes to like character wise, but it's like if the pals don't cross over like 31% of the actual design, they can get away with it. But they have to change a significant amount that it's not 31%. And my percentage can be off with the characters and stuff like that. But as long as they don't go over that threshold, they can't be held responsible for intellectual properties with that being the case. That being said, I see this being successful because to me, it looks like a blatant ripoff, and the fact that you give them guns doesn't change the fact.
So again, talking about the function, the technicality, the mechanics, that's what you're saying is potentially leading to a successful suit.
Yeah, because I think the game is similar enough where they're going to be successful in this.
Okay. And there have been to say that a patent suit is a little different than a copyright. Copyright is really, okay, I could see that. Patent is you use this technology. That's what we're suing on. So Alex, Yield, any thoughts on your end of whether this could be successful?
Yeah, I guess I can see it because I haven't played the game, so I don't know much of it other than what you guys have said, that they're very similar. So it's going to be Palworld's job to prove they're different enough. Is kind of how I'm taking it.
Alex?
Sorry, Athena's barking in the background. I was trying to let her let that die down. So
Athena and Zelda are trying to be part of this new host on the show now.
Yeah, Athena's just a lot more rude about it. Zelda's a little bit more mannered, a little more well-mannered than Athena is. So, when everyone thought they saw some of the pals and it's like, oh, why is Nintendo suing? I think this is maybe why, because on the surface, you look at some of the pals and it's like, oh yeah, that one looks like Lucario, definitely. But maybe Nintendo was looking deeper into and wanted to collect more things. Like instead of going at the surface and what you could see, like again, going underneath, into the motor, underneath the hood and seeing the patent and the mechanics of it. And that's where they were going, less with the characters. Because as Tricky said, you have to reach a certain threshold, which is funny they picked a specific percentage, because quite frankly, it's all subjective anyway. It's a human being picking out, oh yeah, that looks like a good 50% of this character is similar to this character. But clearly they took their time with this lawsuit because they wanted to go deeper than just the surface level of, well, this pal looks like this Pokemon. So.
Okay. Yes, Will, my dog's name is Zelda. Fairly certain you would know that. I don't know. It depends entirely on the patent and what they truly are selling or doing to promote Palworld versus what Pokemon is.
And I do want to say that I was actually surprised this took so long, because Nintendo is normally very quick to take down stuff that's infringing on them.
But again, a patent is a completely different beast in the court of law as opposed to a copyright.
So you think Nintendo was just taking the time to do their research to make sure that it was, totally infringing on there?
In a copyright, you kind of have to be like, see, you could mistake these two things. You could mistake this product for our product. Patents, you have to show absolutely this is the technology that we have patented. This is how they are using it in their system. And that takes time.
Yeah, and exactly. We don't necessarily know. This is, again, Japanese court. We don't necessarily know how all that works. But I would assume that if you're going to spend the money to sue someone and take them to court, you want to make sure that you've got all your ducks in a row, so to speak, and that you have a good case. So, again, I'm sure that all goes into the research of the Nintendo legal team, or the Pokemon Company legal team, because it may be, I assume the Pokemon Company has their own legal team. They got enough money to have one. But that's part of the research. That's part of the time taken up, is you want to make sure you've got a strong case. So if they're bringing this, then they obviously feel like they have a good chance to win.
And I also want to point out, because I mentioned the story before about how somebody was trying to steal the proven gamer name and the Trophy Wars name. I found out in my research that just because I hold the trademark in the United States doesn't mean I hold that trademark in other countries. So somebody in Japan could go trademark the name as well. So I had to go do that, which, cost me a little bit extra money, but it is what it is. But going on that, I have to assume that patent infringement is probably different countries to countries as well. That unless,
Well, I mean, the United States doesn't have jurisdiction over, say, Japan or the UK or anything like that.
Well, no, I get that. What I'm saying is there's got to be different. The laws have to be written in different ways. That maybe, Pal thought they can get away with it. Palworld could think they can get away with it, and maybe that's why Nintendo filed in Japan and not say the United States.
Well, that, to be fair, that's most companies that if they truly are trying to use somebody else's technology, they're going to say, well, no, we're using it this way. It's not the way you think it is. And that's usually where the defense lies. And it's up to the court to decide whether that is actually an infringement or it's just commonality.
Well, also, Tricky, you got to remember that the Pokemon Company is headquartered in Japan. Like, yes, they have offices, there's they have offices around the world, but their main headquarters is in Japan.
But where is Palworld based out of?
It doesn't matter because if you're,
Japan?
I was going to say, but if your patent was filed in Japan, you're not going to, that's where you're going to have the lawsuit.
Well, true. What I'm saying, like, okay, say I'm a car manufacturer and I want to develop a car. If I go down to Mexico, I could probably get away with copying Chevy's features because I'm not following that. If my headquarters is in Mexico, I may be able to get away with some things, but not infringing on a copyright or a patent or something like that because I'm a different country. That's what I was trying to get at, but I didn't know they were both based in Japan.
I think the trick there is you have to sell in a market that the other person you are copying from is not selling. Because if they're selling in a market, then they're going to have some sort of jurisdiction in that area.
True. That's also true.
All right, moving on. We're just going to cover this one quickly because we kind of all talked about it earlier. Was Helldivers got a hell of a patch on the 17th. So, they've made, Arrowhead Studios has made a couple unpopular decisions with balancing weapons and things like that. And they laid out a 60-day plan. And the first patch in that 60-day plan happened on the 17th, where a lot of the weapons that received straight up nerfs got straight up buffs. In other words, all of my fire-based stuff got reverted back to prior to the Freedom's Flame war bond back in August. So the people at Arrowhead Studios seem like they're truly trying to make the game fun again, and the concurrent users went from like 20,000 back up to I think like 100,000 or something like that after this, and people are coming back to the game, and I think it's a good thing. Anybody else have anything they want to cover on this that we didn't cover during our gameplay session?
Okay.
No, I was just gonna ask a question. You'll make your comment first.
I jumped back in on Wednesday as well because one of my buddies was like, "Hey, the update dropped," and I had been seeing the reports of the buffs coming in on Facebook, and so we jumped in Wednesday and we played. I was glad I can use my flamethrower on chargers again, and I also wanted to try the orbital napalm, which I thoroughly love. And then of course Thursday was the drop of the new war bond, so we dove back in then also to start working on the war bond, which I'm a little disappointed on the war bond, but I like the buffs.
So my question is, I mean, you guys play the game, and like, I'm not finding it incredibly hard, but it is difficult. The fact that they're trying to make the game easier, does that bother any of you guys?
Explain easier how.
I just saw the comments. I mean, even like in the notes here, it says, I missed it. In the headline, it says that Helldivers update completely reworks the weapons, adds new Galactic War feature, and changes much more in bid to make the game easier.
I don't think they're making it easier per se. Yeah, at the lower levels, you're making it easier, but at the I'm not playing on the higher
levels. The higher levels got more tougher. I mean, let's face it. We were playing our group. We play constantly between 4 we were playing between 4 and 5 for the most part, unless we were going after super rares. And then since they've now made super rares available at 6, we've been more playing at 6 and kind of 7. And we're not running through it like we kind of used to. You know, there are planets where you run right through it and you take out all the bugs, you take out all the bug holes, you do all your objectives, and you don't really have that much trouble waiting for the pelican to land. And there are others where you were trying to take out a bug hole, and next thing you know, you're down to 3 call-ins left, and you've spent 20 minutes, and you ain't done nothing. So it just kind of varies, and I kind of like that.
Chargers still stomp my face in, but I can now get back at them with the flamethrower, just like I used to. Alex?
So to Tricky's comment about, you know, them potentially making this easier, I definitely don't think that's the case, because you don't need to make it easier when there's 10 difficulty settings, including trivial being the lowest one. So they've got plenty of difficulty settings. You don't need to make it easier. And they added in the Escalation of Freedom update a couple months ago, they added another, like, an even higher difficulty above Helldive. So clearly they've given people plenty of options when it comes to difficulty. So I don't think that their focus is making it easier.
Yeah, no, and they're frankly, we need to be able to feel overpowered at some of these levels, because that's what players want. They want to go on a power trip, and at meaningful levels. I'm not talking like the first, second, or third level. You want to be able to go through at levels 4, 5, and maybe sometimes 6 to get those surplus samples to get your upgrades. So, you know, I'm happy with the things that they're doing and they're making. So let's see what happens. Maybe they'll earn some extra bucks out of me.
I'm liking how, you know, they've taken away, you know, nerf stuff, thinking to help balance, and then turn around and realize that wasn't necessarily the best thing. So we're going to give some of it back, but still tweak it, giving it back. They just didn't revert it back to where it was. It was, well, we're going to do this and that. And I like how they're still playing with it.
It's you know, I have more options now for taking out a Bile Titan, but I still freak out when they're on screen because I don't want to get into a fight with them unnecessarily. You know, they also made it to the point where the drone ships and the rocket soldiers for the bots now have a limited number of rockets before they have to reload, which is great, because I can't tell you how many times I was playing and a gunship would just rocket me and I'd bounce to one location. Then it would rocket me again and I'd bounce to another location without any ability to recover. It was very frustrating and not fun.
The gunships were annoying. The rocket devastators, they were annoying, but I found them.
They were manageable because you could get behind a rock.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. For the sake of time, we're going to skip the next topic, but if anybody wants to look at it, just know that the Firewalk game director, Ryan Ellis, had stepped down after the Concord fiasco. So just be aware of that being out there. So with that, we are going to the socials.
Time to check my social media, yeah.
So coming from Facebook, it was just the one comment from Will asking about the whole Nintendo Pocketpair fiasco. So we kind of covered that. But Tricky did give us in chat a comment from a TikTok guy last week.
It's actually, I'm sorry, it was from YouTube. I have TikTok comments too, but this one's from YouTube. Sorry.
Okay. So the comment was, so no money coming in should let you know that the problem may be the games and not the people. The games are directed and led by executives that would not know anything about gaming, but all about money, and cutting too much means you lose quality. What I'm generally understanding from that is it seems like their comment is that games are being made by executives trying to meet stakeholder financials, as opposed to letting games be games being made to be fun, which will bring in the money naturally. I mean, it's a fair statement. It's something that many of us has said before, that too many times games are being made for shareholders, not for gamers. And games that are naturally successful or fun become naturally successful. Tricky, any thoughts on this comment?
Yeah, I mean, this was made in relation to our topic of the week last week, where we talk about the former Europe Sony head making comments about, just get another job in the meantime until the market bounces back. I see it, but I truly believe that if we're talking about guys like oh God, why can't I think his name? The head of Sony that did the video with Adam Boyce, Shuhei
Yoshida.
There you go. Thank you. I'm sorry, I was blanking on his name. If you're talking about guys like him or Herman Holst and stuff like that, I think those guys are gamers and they get it. I think once you start going above that and you start getting to all the shareholders and stuff like that, they just want to see a return on their money. So the comment is somewhat justified, but I also believe that on the surface level, games are still being made for gamers because we have gamers being heads of those studios. I think the problem is that as people try to develop games, which I think is also a direct cause of why Concord did the way it did, is because the game's development is so long that they're trying to make a good game, and then you get the shareholders going, hey, push this shit out because we need money back. And I think that's the problem.
Fair. Alex?
I mean, this is probably why we've seen for years now, probably more than a decade, where a lot of the innovation in games is indie studios. It's because they don't have to answer to shareholders. I mean, yes, they have to bring in money to be able to support their games, but most of the innovation is why we see bigger studios fall back on successful games and sequels. It's because at the end of the day, if you're a publicly traded company, a lot of your success is basically that's how you raise capital for your company, is by people invest in your company, and then you have to give them a return on their investment. So a lot of the larger companies are kind of tied to that, whereas you see smaller studios that are not so much, or not even, they don't have to answer to shareholders, which is why you're seeing a lot of innovation in that field, we have over the course of the last 10 to 20 years. So I think it's a fair comment.
I think it's a fair comment. I agree with Alex's statement that a lot of the fun games coming out anymore are indie games. They're hitting the sweet mark. They're hitting the sweet spot of games that are visually appealing, they're mentally challenging, and they're fun to play, story and everything. So I think in a way that the big companies have instead of just making games, so to speak, making games that are fun to play and letting the rest take care of themselves, they're trying to live up to, the Horizons and the Grand Theft Autos and all of these big titles that have just done this massive amount of money, and it's like they're chasing the money instead of just, hey, we're going to do this really good game, and if it does great, awesome. If it doesn't, okay, we'll try something else. And it's almost and I don't know if gamers are to blame a little bit. Maybe we're getting too picky, but it feels like here's this really cool game and you're going to like it. And it's like, no, you're not trying hard enough is not the right word, but yeah, they're not hitting the mark.
All right. Well, thank you to those who contributed to our discussion today. We're going to move on to the.
Hold on, I got the TikTok comments. One comes from A. They're quick. One comes from A. It was in relation to us discussing the potential for a new Sony handheld. He says, "Why is this guy arguing? It sounds like they agree." We were agreeing. I guess the clip kind of took it in that context. We weren't really arguing. And then Roy77 left a comment on the video we were talking about. Should we expect the PlayStation 6 to be a little higher in price, being there's no competition? And his comment was, when there's no competition and since Xbox dropped out of making no more consoles, expect a high price for the PS6.
Except Xbox hasn't dropped out of making more consoles as of yet. Anyways. In the interest of time, we'll just move on to the topic of the week, because this is a big one in that Sony announces their full PlayStation lineup for Tokyo Game Show, coming from Game Rant and Murillo Zerbinato. This is the first time Sony's attending the event in about 5 years, and they're going to have a number of booths available dedicating to both some current games, some new games, including PS5 Pro, as to show off, some of the enhancements coming for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Gran Turismo 7, and there's going to be other games available, including Astro Bot, Dragon Ball Sparkling Zero, Dragon Quest II HD 2D Remake, Dynasty Warriors Origins, Infinity Nikki, Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, Metaphor, ReFantazio, Monster Hunter Wilds, Neva, Sonic and Shadows Generations. There's also going to be live presentations featuring Silent Hill 2, Dragon Ball Sparkling Zero, Metaphor, ReFantazio, Death Stranding 2 on the Beach. And this is your reminder that Tokyo Game Show will run from September 26th through September 29th. So I expect us to be covering more in depth next week, but we'll do a quick circle. Tricky, is there anything you're kind of expecting? And the question I want to ask everybody is this: given this setup, do we now understand or agree with Sony making their announcement of the PS5 Pro ahead of Tokyo Game Show? Do you think that was a good decision, bad decision? Should it have been left as a surprise for the show? Go ahead.
I think they should have announced it at the show. But I do believe that with them announcing it earlier, it's kind of letting the shock wear off a little bit, because I think they knew that when they announced it was going to be $700, that there was going to be an issue with it. So now the shock is laying off. Now they can bring people in and say, okay, listen, this is what the Pro is doing. This is why it's $700, and they can actually show it off. I think if they would have done that at the show and then said, okay, here's the Pro, I don't think it would. I don't think the sting would have had time to wear off, so to speak, to allow people to go, what the fuck, $700? And then now you're like, okay, it's $700, but now I'm going into it and going, okay, let me see if this is worth $700. So I'm really looking forward to seeing Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. I do wish it was another Metal Gear Solid game, but on the flip side of that, I never want to see Konami make another Metal Gear Solid game unless Kojima's involved. But Snake Eater, while I know it's a lot of people's favorite Metal Gear game of all time, it is not mine. It is a fantastic game. The visuals are astounding. I'm looking forward to playing it. But that's the only thing I'm really looking forward to. I've already played Astro Bot. I'm literally one trophy away from getting the platinum. I just took a break because I didn't want to get frustrated with the last level. Go back in a couple days and try that. I know this is blasphemous to say this on the show, but I could care less about Monster Hunter Wilds.
It's not blasphemous to say it on the show. It's just blasphemous to say it in front of me. Sonic, I could care less about. And all these other games, I have no interest in at all. So, I mean, the only thing I'm looking forward to is Metal Gear Solid. But I am interested in seeing the reports from people talk about the Pro and what happens, after they get their hands on it. Because I think a lot of the hate, which is justified, was the fact that they announced it was $700. But I think once people get it into their hands and actually start playing it, and I think we may get some justification for the price. Not that it's going to work out in the end, but I think there will be some kind of a justification for it. All right. Yield, anything you're interested in, and then from your perspective, are you surprised at the lack of announcement of any forthcoming titles that are the big hits, the things Sony really want to get out there?
Well, that's what I was going to say. You can definitely tell these games were catered to the home crowd.
Yeah.
I mean, most of these games are all Japanese-based developers or games, or stuff from their culture, which is fine. I get it. You're playing to the home crowd. There's nothing in this list of games other than Astro Bot that I'm interested in. I agree with what Tricky was saying about the 5. or the 5 Pro, but I think they might have been better suited to like wait until the end of the conference to drop this. But we'll see. I don't know. They haven't backed up anything of the improvements that they've done to the 5 Pro that justify $700.
Well, I want to correct you for a second here, because while there is a rumor that they're going to be doing a state of play next week, they're not actually doing a conference. This is just them having booths. This they have not announced an actual conference yet. So, I just want to clarify that, because a lot of people thinking like there's going to be like an E3 type show.
No, this just Tokyo Game
But
Show.
this is just them. They're attending. They're going to have booths there. This is what the games are going to be showing off. But there hasn't been any official announcement on it, like a presentation. Although I do believe, and I didn't say this before, I do believe that we are going to get a stealth announcement, and I think we're actually going to get confirmation of Ghost of Tsushima too.
So you kind of stole the question I was going to ask.
Sorry.
Alex. No, it's fine. It's here. It's now there. Alex, anything here you're excited? And do you think we're going to get any stealth announcements?
So Astro Bot, honestly, I want to play Astro Bot. I'm kind of waiting to the holiday season because I know there's probably going to be a price drop in it. But at this point, I know I'm going to play it. So the less I see, the better. Just so when you play it, there's more surprise. There's more like, oh, yeah, I wasn't expecting that. Everything else, I mean, I'm not a Death Stranding 2 guy. It's nice they're going to have a presentation on it. And I know that, that's Kojima's name being associated with it. Norman Reedus, people are probably excited for that. It's just Kojima games are just not for me. Even though they are very story heavy, I'm not excited for that one, but I know that's a big deal for Sony.
And Matt, that's blasphemous for him to say in front of me.
But what you didn't see, Tricky, is I was gritting my teeth when I said it. But all the rest of the stuff, I mean, there's really nothing there for me personally. I'm a little disappointed, although Sony is still recovering from its strategy that was employed during Jim Ryan's tenure, where there's big gaps in the lineup now because they made some bad decisions, and they're now having to kind of work extra hard to get more games out. So it doesn't surprise me, although yet it is still disappointing that we don't have, another PlayStation game. Because you said, first party and third party studio games will be on display or playable. Well, your first party game is Astro Bot, and everything else is third party. So they're relying very heavily on third party on this, which again, having good relationships with your third party partners is important. But will we see Ghost of Tsushima 2? If I'm betting money, that's the next big game that's going to be shown because it's been long enough. Again, we're in Japan. Sony needs something to justify its pretty new PlayStation 5 Pro. What better game to show it off than Ghost of Tsushima 2? That would be a nice surprise to end the show with. Be like, oh, hey, just one more thing, and then the show off. It doesn't have to be a playable demo, just like a trailer for Ghost of Tsushima 2. That would be nice. Again, I don't want to get my hopes up because disappointment comes when expectations are not met by reality. So I don't want to bank on it. But is there a chance? Yeah, I think there's a chance we could see it. I'm just really trying not to get my hopes up too much. But it would be probably the perfect game in Sony's arsenal to show off the PlayStation 5 Pro. So there is that.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping maybe that we get a reveal. I wasn't even thinking of Ghost of Tsushima 2, but I was kind of hoping maybe like we'd get something from Wolverine or maybe a Spider-Man 2 DLC. That would have been really nice for us to get, especially if they're trying to show off the horsepower of the Pro and what it could do. So
I do find it weird that we haven't gotten any kind of Spider-Man 2 DLC announcement yet.
Well, we're not even at a year, so
yeah. But the first Spider-Man game we got it after 3 months.
Yeah, but this was a bigger, more ambitious game, and maybe listen. We all kind of know what the DLC, those of us who have played, is going to surround. So I don't know. Who knows? You think with them kind of having it in the game that they'd have something more lined up. I agree, but who knows? Like I said, maybe we'll get to state of play. Maybe we'll get a stealth announcement. Tune in next week. We're sure to talk about it.
Well, I'm just gonna put it out there that if they do, they are doing YouTube I don't want to say conferences, but showcases. I just put in our Skype chat that on the 26th they're doing an Astro Bot spotlight. It's going to showcase some indie titles from Shuhei Yoshida. I guess I should have read the article before they yield. I would have remembered the name then. And then on the 29th, they're doing a 60-minute showcase on Death Stranding 2 on the beach. If they do a state of play, or they, while these conferences are going, I plan to live stream with it, co-stream, to give my impressions and whatnot. So be on the lookout for that.
And with that, that brings us to the end of another Trophy Horror show. We'll do shout outs. Yield, start with you.
Shout out to Matt, Tricky, and Alex for recording this evening. Shout out to the Brain 76 and Nitro for some Rocket League today. Shout out to Homer and Prepare to Die or Scum for passing the controller on South Park Stick of Truth. Shout out to Riley and Prepare to Die or Scum for some hell diving this week. I think we're actually going to dive into some when we're done recording here. And shout out to Gareth, not only for his trophy contest that he's running, but for his comments on the feedback for the show. And a shout out to everybody who was hanging out in the Twitch chat tonight.
All right, Alex.
Your shout out to the fuel to the fire that is Trophy Horrors, our awesome community. Thank you for interacting with us. If you do it on YouTube, if you do it on TikTok, however you do it, we appreciate you all so very much. Keep those Facebook questions coming. We love them. If you guys want to see more from the show or see different things from the show, like has been done through the poll, give us some feedback. If you like this episode better than the little others because the content was mostly our opinions on games that we've been playing, again, please let us know, and we'll try to improve the show in any way we can. Give a shout out to my co-host Tricky, Yield, and Matt. And last but not least, give a shout out to my awesome and loving girlfriend Ashley. I love you, hun. And heads up, we are doing Louder Than Life next week, and I will not be here on Sunday, so you guys are going to have to carry the torch without me.
Yeah, I hear Matt's hatching a plan to surprise me. He tried to do it this week, but it failed.
All I got to say is cowabunga.
Matt's looking straight-faced right now.
Matt's got a good poker face.
All right. Well,
he narked on you, Matt. That's all I'm gonna say. Is he narked on you?
I didn't narc on him.
No, not you. His surprise narked on him.
Yeah. Well, that was is what it is. Anyways, I will actually forego. I'm going to change things up here. I'm going to forego most of my shout outs. Just shout out to you, John. Shout out to my wife, and I'll let Tricky close out this show.
Yeah. Again, I just want to thank everybody who's reached out in the last couple of days. I greatly appreciate it. I'm actually getting Facebook messages as we're doing the show. People checking in on me. I cannot tell you guys how much that means to me. I get a lot of. I don't want to say hate, because hate's not the right word. I get a lot of crap for my opinions and what I say, and people give me a hard time. And sometimes it makes me feel like I'm not really appreciated and felt. But the overwhelming support over the last couple of days shows me that I was totally wrong about that. And it's just guys being guys. Even like Alex trolling me on certain things. It gets annoying sometimes, but Alex just sticks to his guns. But I know when the rubber meets the mat, it's you guys are there for me, and I greatly appreciate that. I can't say enough to that. There's no words I can put to show you how greatly appreciated I am to that. I'm going to forego my normal shout-outs this week just because I want to leave it at that. And if there's nothing else, until next week, happy trophy hunting.
See ya.
Later.
The theme song is Venus by the band Even off their album Zenith. Permission granted by the band and 12th Zone Records. You can find them on Facebook by going to www.facebook.com/evenphilippines.